The gavel slams. Silence crashes over the crowd like a sudden storm. The widow's hand lifts in the air. Men shift on benches. They mutter. No one moves to stop her. Inside her chest is an ache older than loss, older than words. The auctioneer's eyes flick to her. He clears his throat. Going once. She holds. Going twice. She doesn't flinch. Sold. She is the winner before she speaks. Two boys stand behind a rope. One looks 12, the other closer to 10. Their bodies are straight, their eyes hollow. Dust clings to their skin like a second coat. They stand quiet, branded by silence. She steps forward. The older boy's shoulders square. The younger one tilts his head. She reads something in their posture. She imagines her own boy once faced her that way. The sheriff stands near the edge of the ring. His badge glints. He says nothing. He watches her. She takes a paper from the clerk. She signs. Her hand is steady. The ink seeps into the fiber. No tremor. She hands it back. The clerk nods. The boys wait. She says flatly, "They'll ride with me." No hesitation, no softness. The crowd watches her. Some shift uncomfortably. The auctioneer clears his throat again. She steps toward the wagons parked outside. The boys follow. Dust kicks up under their feet. The older boy's boots are broken at the sole. The younger's pants have ragged knees. No one offered them clothes. In the wagon yard, the older boy shifts. "Ain't we supposed to call you something?" He speaks first, voice quiet but firm. She steps up into the wagon and doesn't look at him. She pulls a coarse sack over the bench. The younger boy climbs in behind her. She shuts the door gently, wood echoing in the quiet. "Don't call me anything," she says. The tone is final. She looks out through the open side. Her gaze drifts to the older boy's back. He pauses at the threshold. His expression was unreadable, chipped like old pottery. The younger boy climbs in beside the older. No names are exchanged. Not a single word passes after that. The wagon moves. Wooden wheels churn gravel. She sits forward, hands steady on reins. Horses snort. Dust trails behind. The boys sit silent and still. She hears her heart's low drumbeat. She imagines her own son, eyes wide, voice ringing. The memory sharpens, then retreats. The older boy turns slightly. "Where are you taking us?" His voice is low, cautious. She shakes her head. "Are you going to help or talk?" She doesn't wait. "Ride." He nods. The younger boy watches her, face emotionless, unblinking. There's something in his eyes like hunger, like he's waiting for permission. Her grief stretches in the empty space between them. They pass the town center, empty storefronts with cracked windows, barns with sagging roofs. No welcome signs, no painted names, only dust and quiet. The wagon rattles in rhythm with her breathing. The older boy shifts again. "You the one who bought us?" She nods, but doesn't answer. He exhales, small and slow. In the back of the wagon, the younger boy leans forward. She doesn't look back. His voice is barely above a breath. "I know what to call you." Silence thickens. She tightens her grip on the reins. No answer, no reaction from the older boy. Only the younger ones keep learning. He murmurs the word. It falls through the air. It catches on the wood of the wagon floor. "Mama." She freezes. The horses slow, as if sensing the change. Her fingers tighten. The older boy holds his breath. The younger boy sits back, calm as if he planned it. The light filtering through the wagon slats slants across their faces. Dust motes drift in the shafts. Her breath comes sharp. Her mind hits a wall. The word echoes. Time stretches. The older boy shifts again, ready to speak, but the younger holds up a hand. Silence comes again, deeper than before. She breathes. The horses move on. The world beyond the wagon hums with wind through dry grass, but inside she is stopped. Their journey continues outward, but inside she has fallen inward. The auction ground, the county seat, the whispers, they all collapse behind her in the dust. The older boy finally speaks, voice low. "You gonna stop?" She doesn't answer. The younger boy smiles once, slight, crooked, not a play smile, a knowing smile. She drives onward. Bent trees pass sunburned fields. No turning back. In her mind, she pictures the past. A boy's laugh, a cracked picture frame, a closed grave. She sees the sheriff leaving after the accident, shutting the chapel doors. The memory flickers, dark and distant. She grips the reins tighter. Her vision tunnels to the road ahead. The older boy shifts again. What if I call you something anyway? Her jaw tightens. She glances back once, eyes cold. Don't. She looks forward again. The younger boy watches. He tilts his head and hums softly. They drive. The road stretches rough and empty. The boys sit silent. The woman drives steady. The word lingers between them, heavier than the dust. Mama. She breathes it in against her will. She tells herself it's just a boy's guess, a child's experiment. But it's her own voice, shaped by her loss. They pull up at her place, an old house at the edge of a field, dusty porch, chipped paint, shuttered windows. The house grew quiet. She opens the gates. The wagon stops. Horses breathe heavily. The older boy climbs out. The younger follows. She steps down last. The older one looks at her. We gonna live here? She nods. The younger boy doesn't ask. He stands still, watching her. She takes a breath, holds it, then lets it go. The air is still. The day is ending. She lifts the reins to untie the horses. The silence drips. The auction day falls off behind them, lost in dust. The future waits. She says nothing. The boys wait. She holds her grief in her bones, tighter than the reins. The younger boy steps closer. He tilts his head, soft, almost a whisper. Mama. The word cracks open something inside her. She doesn't cry. She doesn't speak. She just stands and stares at the younger boy. He doesn't flinch. The older boy glances between them. He presses his lips together and nods once. The silence blooms around them. Dust settles. Evening light softens the edges of the world. She finally opens her hand and drops the reins. The boys stand together, side by side. No names have passed her lips, but something has changed. The chapter ends with a stillness louder than any sound, held between widow and boy, unspoken and unbreakable. The wagon creaked through the final stretch of road, wheels grinding gravel, hooves soft on dirt. None of them spoke. The widow held the reins like she was holding herself together. The older boy leaned back against the boards. The younger kept staring at her shoulder like he expected it to twitch. They reached the house just before sundown. She parked the wagon near the well, didn't speak, didn't signal, just climbed down. Her boots struck the ground and the sound rang hollow. The house stood quiet, still. Nothing stirred inside. Not the curtains, not the porch swing. Even the wind gave it distance. The boys didn't move until she opened the door. Come on, she said. They stepped in behind her. The house was cold. Not from the weather. From time to time, from the weight of things left in place too long. A coat hung near the door, small, gray wool, a child's size. Beneath it, on the floor, a pair of muddy boots rested under the bench. One tilted sideways, laces undone. The older boy noticed. Didn't say anything. The younger boy stepped closer, crouched. These his. She didn't answer. She lit the oil lamp on the counter. Flame flickered, caught. She adjusted the knob like it mattered. The older boy looked toward the hallway. Which room's ours? She pointed without turning. Left's the big one. He waited. You gonna lock us in? She faced him. Her voice stayed level. Don't need to. He nodded. Took the younger by the arm. They went down the hall, boots thumping. She stayed in the kitchen, hands on the counter, eyes on the flour sack. She cooked like someone doing math. Exact scoops, tight movements, no improvising. Every step is memorized. The stove gave off a low clatter. The bread didn't rise much. She salted it heavily. The older boy came back first, leaned on the door frame. You don't salt bread like that unless you ain't used to cooking for more than one. She didn't look up. You don't talk like that unless you've been watching women cook. He shrugged, watched a lot of things, didn't have much else to do. The younger boy followed. He didn't speak. He just reached toward the wood stove, dragged a finger across the ash, then another. Drew slow, looping lines. His finger paused. He stepped back. The older boy saw it first. That's a horse. The younger one nodded. And that's... He didn't finish. She stepped closer. I looked down. The second shape, a rectangle, with marks at the top, crossed, a grave. The ash smeared across the stovetop like it had meaning. The widow reached over and wiped it clean with a cloth. No drawings inside. The younger boy shrugged. Dinner passed with little said, chewing, clinking metal. The kind of quiet that filled a room without asking. The older boy scraped his plate clean. The younger one only picked at him. She didn't ask if they were full. After the dishes were rinsed and stacked, she turned. Bed, you're up before sun. The older boy stood. You got chores for us? You're not here for decoration. He nodded. Good. I don't like sitting still. The younger boy stared at the table. She tapped the back of the chair. Go. They went. She stayed at the sink long after the water turned cold. Didn't dry her hands. Just stared through the dark window into the pitch of night. The house creaked. Wind or memory, she couldn't tell. Later, in bed, she lay stiff, eyes open, breath shallow. Something shifted in the walls. A floorboard groaned. Then, humming. A tune. Simple, slow, familiar. Her fingers clenched in the quilt. Her body didn't move, but her mind reeled. The tune was hers. She had sung it once, years ago, in a smaller room, to a smaller boy, one who always asked for it twice. She stood, quiet, bare feet cold on the wood. She moved down the hall. The boy's door was cracked. She pushed it open. They were asleep. The older curled on his side, breathing steady. The younger lay flat, eyes closed, but not peaceful. She stepped closer. Where'd you hear that song? She asked. His eyes opened, calm, wide. You used to sing it to me. Her face didn't move. You weren't there. You held me. That's not. You buried me wrong. She froze. The room went silent. Even the night backed away. He blinked slowly, not angry, not afraid, just sure. She whispered, You're not him. He said nothing. She turned. I walked out, didn't close the door. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall. The humming hadn't come from her, and it hadn't come from the living. She pressed her palm flat against the wallpaper. It felt cold. Behind it, she thought she heard breathing. She didn't go back to bed. She sat by the stove, wrapped herself in the coat from the peg. It didn't fit right. Too small now. The sleeves didn't reach her wrists. The boots under the bench stayed where they were. The fire burned low. The flower bowl sat on the counter, untouched. She watched ash settle again on the stovetop. This time she didn't wipe it. She stood in the doorway, still as the frame, still as the silence. The boy's words circled her ribs like thread pulling tight. You buried me wrong. Now both boys lay asleep, breathing slowly, hands open, blankets undisturbed. No voice, no tune, no proof, just air. She stepped back, closed the door, held the latch like it could hold her up. It was just memory, she told herself, memory clawing for attention. The brain misfires when it's alone too long. That's all. That's all it was. The night passed heavy. The fire burned low. Shadows leaned long. She didn't sleep. At dawn, the house felt colder. In the kitchen, the flower bowl sat untouched. The coat still hung by the door. The boots hadn't moved. She cracked eggs in a pan. The sound was too sharp, too loud for a house that wasn't fully awake. Footsteps creaked behind her. The older boy walked in, quiet, eyes alert. He sat, said nothing. She flipped the eggs. Then came the sound. Software rhythmic, metal on plaster. She turned. The younger boy sat by the hallway wall, spoon in hand, scraping. What the hell are you doing? Her voice didn't rise, but it cracked at the edge. He didn't look up, just kept working the spoon against the faded paint. This part's thin, he said. Hollow. Stop that, she snapped. He's here. Her spine stiffened. No, he isn't. He tapped the wall. Behind this part. The older boy watched from the table. Still silent. His eyes didn't move. You don't dig at things that aren't yours, she said. The boy paused. I looked back at her. You don't hide boys in walls unless you're scared of what they'll say. She froze, then turned back to the stove, pulled the pan off the flame, set it down too hard. The younger one kept digging. The spoon scraped and scraped. White powder dusted the floor, then pink, then red. He scraped harder. His knuckles dragged. The skin split. She spun. That's enough. Blood smeared the wall, a thin line through the scraped paint. Look what you've done. He bleeds through it anyway, the boy said. She stepped toward him. He didn't move. The older boy stood now, still watching. No fear, just knowing. She grabbed the spoon, threw it in the sink. You don't dig here. I already did, the boy said. She looked at his hand, blood on the fingers. Thin, bright, like the color from the barn ladder. Flash, the hayloft, years ago. Micah climbed too fast, laughing, boots kicking, then slipping. The crack of the fall, not a scream, just a thud. She ran. The doctor didn't come. The sheriff did. He said it was over quick. Said accidents happen. Said boys are always falling from something. He said she could bury him without making it public. Said it would be better that way. Said she'd already suffered enough. Said it could stay quiet. She buried a box. A closed one. No one asked what was in it. No one came to see. The younger boy touched the red streak on the wall. It's warm. She turned away. You don't touch that again. He didn't answer. All day the house felt wrong. The windows stayed shut, but the air moved. The curtains swayed once with no breeze. A faint hum passed through the floorboards, the smell of something wet, sour. That night she locked her door. For the first time in years, she lay in bed, eyes open, then creaking, then moaning. Not wood, not wind. The sound came from the wall. Long, low, deep. She sat up, held her breath. The wall behind the bed pulsed. She felt it like a heartbeat. The house shifted, like it took a breath. Floorboards groaned under invisible weight. The hallway moaned. Then it was quiet. She whispered, "Stop! Just stop." Silence. Then it came, from inside the wall. A voice, small, dry, like breath pushing through old nails. "Mama." Her hands clutched the sheets. She stared at the dark. "No." "Mama," the voice said again, softer now, like it was smiling. She stood, didn't bother with a robe, moved down the hall barefoot. The boy's door was open. The younger one lay on the floor. He looked up at her. "You heard it too," he said. Her mouth was tight, her throat closed. "You buried him wrong," he said again. "He's still here." "I buried what was left," she said. The older boy sat up. I watched her from the bed. Still no words. "He wants to come out," the younger whispered. "Don't," she said. "He's not mad." She backed up. "Go to bed. He's waiting." She turned. I walked away fast, down the hall, into the kitchen, pushed the flour bowl off the counter. It hit the floor and broke. White dust scattered. She didn't clean it. She sat in the chair, eyes on the doorway. The wall didn't moan again, but in the morning, the red line on the hallway wall was longer, and the spoon was back beside it, clean, shining, waiting. She struck the match like she meant it. Flames caught slow, then fast. The wood popped, smoke lifted. She didn't flinch. The firewood had been stacked under the eave since the funeral, a slanted pile marked in chalk, "For him." She hadn't touched it in years. Now she fed it piece by piece into the stove. Let the smoke take something with it. The boys were outside, the older one splitting logs, the younger one dragging them into place. She heard the rhythm through the window. Axe, thump, shuffle, repeat. Inside, the fire settled to coals. She opened the stove door again, reached for the poker. There, tucked beneath a blackened log, something metal glinted. She blinked, reached in with the tongs. A badge, sheriff's star, half melted, warped at the edges. One point twisted inward, like it had turned on itself. She dropped it on the floor. Ash clung to her skirt. She stared. Too long. It hadn't been in the firewood. It couldn't have. She knelt, picked it up, barehanded. It was cold. She walked out back, dug a hole behind the shed, buried it with no words. The boys didn't see. By midday, a car kicked up dust on the road. She wiped her hands on her apron and stepped out. Two men got out, suits dusty, ties too tight, the kind of clean that didn't match the land. One raised a hand. "Ma'am." "Councilman," she said flatly. The other smiled too wide. "Preacher's with me." "I see that." The preacher nodded. "We were in the area." "No one's ever in this area," she said. The councilman gestured toward the house. "Heard you got company." She didn't move. "I did." "Two boys, they say." "They say a lot." "You got any paperwork?" he asked. She crossed her arms. "They're mine now." The preacher stepped forward. "Folks worry is all. Small town. Unfamiliar faces. They're not unfamiliar to me." He looked toward the barn. "Still, no one saw where they came from." "No one saw where my son went either," she said. The preacher paused. "We're not trying to accuse." The councilman cleared his throat. "It's just strange. A woman. Alone. Boys with no names. They've got names. You know what I mean." The preacher's voice dropped. "Some say you're trying to bring your boy back." Her jaw clenched. "Do they?" "Some think that's dangerous." I'm not asking them to help. The preacher smiled. Still, might be good to come by church sometime. She stared at him. You bring sermons to graveyards now? He shifted. Only if there's something still walking in one. The older boy stepped onto the porch, dirty shirt, axe in hand. You need something? He asked. The councilman straightened. Just checking in. The boy spit into the dirt. They never come back, he said. I got a rock for each. The men looked at him. We looked at each other, said nothing. They left without another word. Dust curled behind their tires. The boy watched them go. Didn't move. The younger boy came from around the side, sat in the dirt, drew a circle with his finger. Inside it, he traced a line, then another, like spokes on a wheel. He hummed, the same lullaby, the one she used to sing, the one the house remembered. The wind died. The porch creaked once, and then nothing. The kitchen was quiet. Bread cooled on the counter, cracked crust, steam still rising. She wiped her hands on her apron and looked out of the window. The sun hung low. Then the door slammed. The older boy stumbled in, shirt torn, blood dark on his side. She didn't flinch. He held his arm against the wound. Trap snapped back. Got me good. She pointed to the chair. Sit. He dropped into it, breathing heavily. Blood seeped through his fingers. Take that off. He hesitated, then peeled the shirt back. The gash was deep, skin pulled wide, raw. She moved to the drawer, pulled out cloth, thread, needle. Then I turned to the cabinet, opened the top shelf. From the back, she took a folded shirt, small, faded, stitched initials on the collar. She didn't look at it long. She ripped it into strips. Old shirt, the boy said, voice tight. It's clean. Too small for you. Wasn't mine. She poured whiskey into a bowl, soaked the cloth, pressed it to the cut. He hissed. Damn. She threaded the needle. Hand steady. Was it his? She didn't answer. He watched her. The boy you buried. Hold still. She stitched. The thread pulled tight. What was his name? She tied the knot. We don't say it here. The younger boy stood in the doorway, silent, watching. But he's here anyway, he said. She slapped the table hard. Wood echoed. Enough. The younger boy didn't move. The older boy didn't flinch. Blood dripped from the cloth, pooled on the floor. A rusty coin shape. The dog wandered in. Sniffed. Licked it once. She grabbed the mop, scrubbed the spot clean, harder than she needed to. The boys watched. She stood, wiped her hands again, and left the room. That night, the house stayed too quiet. The wind pressed against the windows but didn't howl. Floorboards didn't creak. In the boys' room, the older boy lay awake, stitched side pulsing with pain. The younger boy stared at the ceiling. She said we don't say it, the older whispered. She says a lot she doesn't believe. The younger replied, What do you think it was? The younger boy rolled onto his side. It's not what, it's who. Down the hall, the widow turned to sleep. Sheets tangled, breath shallow. She murmured, a name. Software cracked. Micah. The house breathed in and held it. The older boy grunted as he drove the shovel into the earth again. The soil came up darker near the orchard, wet with something old, richer than the rest of the land. He liked it. It gave without fighting. The younger one crouched near the edge of the hole, using his hands to pull out stubborn root systems and clumps of grass that didn't belong. They weren't told to dig here, but they hadn't been told not to either. The older boy spoke through breath. You think she knows? The younger one didn't answer. The sun hovered just behind the barn. Shadows from the apple trees reached long over the boy's shoulders, stretching toward the house like they had something to say. The shovel hit something with a hard clink. The older boy stopped. That ain't rock. The younger leaned in, brushing dirt aside with a careful hand, then pulled it out. A boot. Small, leather cracked and curling at the edges, the size a child might wear. He turned it over. Mud flaked off the sole. He looked up. Is this his? She stood by the porch steps. She'd been watching them for 10 minutes, arms folded, face unreadable. Now her expression changed. Her whole body tensed. Her arms dropped. She didn't speak. The younger boy reached into the soil again. His hand disappeared, came back, holding a second object, a wooden horse, whittled from one piece, missing its tail. Its neck bore a smooth dip, worn from small hands carrying it too many times. He held it in his palm. I turned it, squinted. This was his too. The widow took one step forward, not fast, not deliberate, just forward. She stopped halfway down the steps. The sun hit the porch rail. She didn't move into the light. The older boy wiped sweat from his forehead. "You sure you want to keep digging here?" The younger boy didn't look up. "I didn't start digging." He did. The widow stayed quiet. Flash. A box. Pine. Cheap. Closed lid. No weight. No one carried it but her. No one cried. No one asked questions. The undertaker never showed. The sheriff did. Said it would be simpler this way. Said the boy was gone. What difference did it make? She'd stood there in her black dress, hands still stained from the hayloft. She hadn't opened the box once. Now, her fists clenched at her sides. "You stop," she said. The younger boy looked up. "You didn't bury him right." "Enough. He's scattered. Stop it. You left part of him." She moved quickly, faster than she had in months, down the steps, across the dry grass, up to the hole. "You don't speak about him. Not like that." The younger boy stepped back, not scared, just respectful. The older boy looked down at the hole again, ran a hand over the edge. "You hear that?" A soft sound, hollow beneath the shovel blade. A space. She froze. "You hear it too." The older boy said. "It's not real," she whispered. The shovel dropped. The younger boy crouched again, brushed more earth away. The horse lay beside the hole, face up. She stared at it. Flash. Micah's hands, dirty, clutching that same horse, standing by the orchard asking if he could bury it like treasure, said it was lucky, said he wanted it to stay in the ground forever. She'd smiled then. A rare moment. It passed fast. And now here it was, dug up, cold. "He ain't whole," the younger boy said. "And he knows it." She shook her head. "You stop. He's waiting for the rest. Don't talk like you know him. You think we don't feel it? This land hums like a sore tooth." The older boy stood still. I watched her, didn't speak. "I buried what they gave me," she snapped. "You buried what you could live with," the younger said. That broke her. She turned, fast, didn't look back. The door slammed behind her. She went to the kitchen, dropped to her knees in front of the flour bin, pried it open, shoved her hands inside. White powder swallowed her wrists, then her arms. She pressed deeper, like the bowl could take her with it, like it would pull her down to where no voices reached. Tears hit the surface, made little craters. She sobbed into the bin, mouth open. No words, just a broken breath. "I tried," she gasped. "I did try." She leaned forward, forehead pressed against the rim. Flour dust on her skin. Her shoulders shook. Behind her, the floor creaked. But no one came in. The boys stayed outside. The younger boy placed the wooden horse on the edge of the hole. Not buried, not claimed, just waiting. The orchard stayed still, but the air changed. Something in it opened wider, like the ground had exhaled, like the silence was watching now. The older boy stood with the shovel again. "We gonna cover it?" The younger boy shook his head. "Not yet." He looked up at the house. "She's not ready." The wind picked up once, just once. The trees didn't move, but the dust swirled into the shape of a circle, then vanished. She sat alone at the kitchen table, hands still powdered in flour, streaked with salt from the crying she hadn't meant to do. The bin lid hung open behind her. The room had gone too quiet. Not the kind of silence that meant peace, the kind that meant something was watching. Her breath hitched once, then steadied. She stood slowly, wiping her face with the edge of her apron, then walked down the hall. Each floorboard creaked in protest, like they didn't want her going where she was headed. She opened the door to the small room at the end. It hadn't been touched since the box went into the ground. Inside, dust rested on everything like snow that never melted. His bed was still made. The toy shelf was still crooked. One boot under the window never found its pair. She went to the tall dresser, top drawer, then second. Her fingers moved slowly, like she already knew where it was. She reached to the back of the drawer, behind old Sunday clothes folded like memory, pulled out the book, the Bible. It was his. The only thing he ever asked to keep close after his father left. Said he didn't believe half of it, but liked how it smelled. Said he liked the names in it. Said they felt strong. She hadn't opened it since he died. Now she sat back on his bed, let it fall open. Pages fluttered, then stilled. Something crackled. Tucked between the middle pages, where Psalms met Proverbs, was a piece of paper, folded once, burned along the edge, a corner missing, smudged like someone had held it too long with sweaty fingers. She didn't breathe. She unfolded it. The handwriting was his. "Mama, I heard what you said to Sheriff Lorne. I know what you're going to do. I forgive you." Her hand dropped the letter like it was on fire. It hit the floor beside her boot. Her whole body went cold. Cold like the morning they told her it was done. Cold like the dirt before it's turned. She looked down at the paper, now curled slightly at the edge. Flash. Micah, outside the barn, sitting in the dirt with that damn wooden horse talking to himself. She'd come around the side of the house thinking he was alone. She'd said it quietly, but he was always good at hearing things not meant for him. The sheriff stood on the porch, arms crossed, hat in hand. She'd told him, "They can't find out, and they won't, but it costs." What kind of cost? The kind you can carry. That was all. He nodded. She hadn't realized Micah was on the other side of the porch, still as stone, listening. She picked up the letter from the floor, ran her thumb across the last line. "I forgive you." Her stomach turned. She stood fast, moved through the hall, through the front door, into the yard. The boys were at the barn. The younger one is sitting on the rail. The older one sharpened a stick with a pocket knife. Both of them turned as she approached. She didn't stop walking. The younger boy smiled like he'd been waiting for her. She held up the letter. "Where did you find this?" The older boy blinked. "We didn't. It was hidden, buried in the pages, burned. You bring it back?" The younger shrugged. "We didn't need to." "You think this is a game?" "No." "Then what are you?" she said. The older boy dropped the knife. "We're just boys." The younger boy tilted his head. "Number, we're what he asked for." She stepped back. "What does that mean?" He didn't blink. "You said yes. You didn't know who was listening, but someone was." She stared. "You don't believe us," the younger one said. "I believe you're dangerous." He nodded. "So was he." She turned to the older boy. "And you." He looked her in the eye. "I followed him here." She didn't move. "You think the world ends when a boy dies," the older said. "But sometimes he just changes shape." She felt her knees soften. Grief rushed up again, hard and ugly. "This isn't real." The younger boy jumped down from the rail. I walked over. "You knew we'd come." "No." "You kept his room." "Because I didn't know what else to do." "You waited." "I didn't mean to." "You did." She dropped the letter again. It landed by the barn's shadow. "I buried him," she whispered. "Not all of him," the younger one said. "Stop." He stepped closer. "You made a trade." She shook her head. "I didn't know what I was agreeing to." "But you said yes." She looked away. Her eyes fell on the shovel stuck in the ground near the garden, still waiting for a job. "Why are you here now?" she asked. The older boy picked up the letter, folded it back the way it had been. "Because he wants you to remember what you did." "I remember every day," the younger boy said softly. "Not just the fall." She didn't answer. The younger one pointed to the letter. "He forgave you before it happened." She stared at him. "But now," he said, "you have to forgive yourself." She sat down on the steps. The dust swirled around her feet. The sun had dropped lower now, casting long shadows. "I can't," she said. The older boy handed her the letter. "You're going to." She didn't move. "Why now?" The younger boy sat beside her. "Because he thinks you're ready." Her hands trembled as she held the letter again. The younger one leaned his shoulder against hers. Warm. Solid. "He's still yours," he whispered, and she cried again, not loud, but real. The storm started like a whisper. No wind, no lightning, just a heaviness pressing down through the ceiling. She stood at the sink, staring out of the dark window. Nothing moved outside, but she could feel it. Something is coming. The first drop landed on her hand, cold, not from above, from the wall. She turned. Another drop slid down the wallpaper, carving a slow trail through yellowed flowers. Another after that. Then more. She backed away. The ceiling was dry, but the walls were bleeding water, slow, steady, thick as memory. In the hallway, she heard it, dripping, floorboards soaked. She followed the sound. Water ran from the corners, pooled around the baseboards, soaked into the rugs. The wallpaper peeled down in long curling sheets, Paint bubbled like blisters. She stepped barefoot into the hall and froze. Footprints, small, muddy. Barefoot, they tracked from the bedroom door toward the living room, then vanished. She turned slowly. The front door creaked open. And there he was, Sheriff Lorne, soaked, hat in hand. Rain clinging to him is like regret. He stepped inside like he owned the threshold. Water pooled under his boots. "Storm finally found you," he said. She didn't answer. "Thought you could just disappear." She nodded toward the walls. "I ain't the only thing trying to." He stepped further in. His badge hung heavy on his chest, darker now, soaked through. "You took the last of him," she said. "You made a deal." "I took 2 more. Balanced the weight." "They ain't yours," he said. She stepped toward him. "Neither was he after what you did." "You think this is about law?" "I think you don't know what law is." He raised his coat, revealing the revolver, wet metal, still loaded. "This is about what you promised." She didn't blink. "I promised silence." "You broke that." "I broke nothing," she said. "You buried it wrong." "Then let me fix it." She reached behind the stove, pulled out the shotgun, no tremor in her hands. He smiled, sad. "You think I came here for a fight?" "I think you came here knowing you'd lose." A voice from behind. "She didn't promise you." The younger boy stepped into the doorway, barefoot, mud up to his ankles, calm. The sheriff turned. "What is that?" The boy didn't flinch. "Not what? Who?" The older boy appeared next, holding the folded letter in one hand like a shield. "You lied to her," he said. "I gave her peace." The sheriff said, "You gave her a hole." Silence dropped, heavy. The walls kept weeping. Rain inside. Dry outside. The house was filled with the smell of rot and regret. Water soaked through the floorboards, pooled under the table. The light overhead flickered. The widow stepped forward. "I buried an empty box," she said. "And you handed it to me." "You knew what was in it." "No," she said. "I only knew what was missing." She raised the gun. The sheriff didn't flinch. "I'm here to collect," he said. "Then take your piece and go." "I want the whole thing." "Too late." The boy stepped between them. "She's not alone," the younger one said. "She never was," the older added. The sheriff looked at them, then at her. Then the water was still rising. He stepped back once, then again. "I'll be back." The widow lowered the gun. "No, you won't." He stood in the doorway for one last second, and then he vanished into the dry night. Behind her, the house stopped raining, but the footprints remained. The water had stopped. The walls were dry. The footprints had faded into the boards, but the air inside the house still held weight, like breath waiting to exhale. The sheriff was gone. She stood by the stove, holding the shotgun with both hands, not for safety, not for show, just to feel something solid. The younger boy appeared in the doorway. "We need to show you something." She didn't answer. She looked past him, out of the window toward the barn. Nothing moved. The older boy came next, face quiet. "It's time." She set the shotgun down. Her knees felt hollow. They walked without speaking. Out past the orchard, past the broken fence line, past where grass grew wild and thick. The barn slouched in the distance, its roof bent like a man too tired to stand. Behind it sat the well. It hadn't been used in years, maybe decades. The rope still hung, frayed at the ends. The wood ring around it was rotted, moss clinging to the edges like skin peeling from a wound. She stopped 6 feet from it. "What is this?" she asked. The younger boy stepped forward. "Where it started." She looked at him. "Started what?" He leaned over the edge, hummed once, software familiar, a lullaby. Her breath caught. The well didn't echo the hum. It echoed her voice, not humming, speaking. "You knew what he was." She froze. The voice came again, up from the dark. "You let him stay." She stumbled back. "That's not real," she said. The younger boy turned. "You heard it." "No." "You heard it." She backed away another step. The older boy placed a hand on her arm. "You were the last one to see him on the ladder." "Don't." "You didn't yell. You didn't run." "I didn't know." "You did." The voice from the well came again, sharper this time. "You knew. And you did nothing." Her legs gave. She collapsed onto the ground, palms hitting the dirt. The sky above stayed clear. No wind, no birds, nothing. She pressed her forehead into the earth. I tried, she whispered. You didn't save me, the younger boy said. She looked up at him. His face wasn't angry, just steady, just sure. You let him fall, he said. I didn't mean to. The boy crouched beside her. But you did. Flash. The ladder. The creak. Micah at the top reaching for something she'd told him not to touch. Her hands were full of rope, too slow to drop them. He turned, said her name, then slipped, and she hadn't run, hadn't screamed, just stood there as he hit the ground, silent. The sheriff came, said no autopsy, said the body could go in the ground quickly, said it would be better for everyone, and she'd said yes. Now the well whispered again. You left me here. She covered her ears. No. You left me here. The older boy stepped to the edge. This is the place he landed. She looked up at him. The barn. He fell inside. No. The boy said. He fell through. The floor gave way. The younger added. She turned to the well. You're saying he never made it out. The younger said. She crawled forward on her knees, reached the edge. I looked down. Blackness. Not just dark. Endless. She reached for the rope. It disintegrated in her fingers. The wind shifted once, cold up her spine. She stared into the void and whispered, Micah. The voice came back. Not a whisper, not a growl. A scream. But not hers. And not his. Something that sounded like both of them, twisted. She flinched. The scream echoed off the trees, shook the barn door. Then silence. She pulled back, fell on her side, curled into herself. The younger boy stepped beside her. You didn't finish the burial, she shook her head. I buried what I had. The older boy, but not what he needed. Her fingers clawed at the dirt. I didn't know. The voice from the well said again, softer this time. You knew. She sobbed once. I wasn't strong enough. The boys didn't speak. The wind picked up. The well moaned again, lower now, like a child in sleep. She pushed herself upright, wiping her face. What happens now? She asked. The younger boy knelt beside her. You listen. To what? To what he needs. The older boy pointed to the barn. There's still something there. She looked at the well. I'm scared. We are too, the younger said, but we're still here. The voice from the well whispered one last time, come back. Then silence again. The wind stopped. The trees stood still. She wiped her hands on her skirt and stood. She looked at both boys. Then let's finish it. She knelt in front of the well. The earth was damp beneath her knees, not from rain, not from time, but from something deeper, something that had always waited. Her hands gripped the moss-slick rim, nails pressing into the rotted wood. The sun was barely above the hills, but the light didn't reach her face. It stopped just short, as if this place had its own kind of shadow. Behind her, the boys sat cross-legged in the dust, one to her left, one to her right. Neither made a sound. The younger tilted his head and waited. The older watched the wind shift through the orchard, but nothing moved. She stared into the black throat of the well and said the name. Micah. It came out dry, cracked, half-formed. She swallowed, steadied her voice, and said it again. Micah. The sound hit the stones and dropped into the dark. No echo, no response. Just silence. Until then a voice came back. Heron, you knew what he was. You let him stay. She jerked backward, but her hands wouldn't let go. The younger boy's voice was soft. He heard it. He needed to. The older added. She turned slightly. You said you weren't born. The younger one looked up. We weren't. We were called, the older said. She studied them. By me. By the space you made, the younger replied. The wind moved then, but only around them. The trees bent. The barn door creaked. Somewhere a bird screamed, or maybe it didn't. I didn't call anyone, she said. You did when you kept that room made, said the older. When you said yes to what should have been a no, the younger added. When you didn't scream, the older man finished. I wanted him back. You wanted it undone. I didn't ask for replacements. No, the younger one said. You asked for understanding. She stood slowly. Her knees ached. Her bones pulsed. So what are you then? Memory. Wish. Warning. She looked toward the barn, then the house. I thought you were just boys. We were never just anything, the younger boy said. We're Micah's echo, said the older, and yours. She stepped toward them. If this is what I called, how do I send it back? You don't. Why not? Because you haven't finished yet. What's left? The younger boy pointed toward the house. Her eyes followed. Smoke curled from the windows. She blinked. The curtains rippled though the air was still. The floorboards she'd scrubbed for 10 years were already blackening. The porch roof dipped. The front door opened on its own. He's still waiting, the older boy said. She turned toward the well again. I didn't mean to let him fall. But you didn't catch him. I was scared. You were silent. I thought he'd be okay. He thought so too, the younger whispered. The rope above the well swayed. It had no wind to blame. She looked back to the house. Her breath hitched. He's inside. He never left, said the younger. She walked. Each step back to the house felt heavier. The boys followed. By the time she reached the porch, the fire had reached the walls. Flames snaked up the sides. Not wild, not loud, just certain, just sure. She stepped inside. The wallpaper peeled, the picture frames cracked. The coat still hung by the door, half scorched. She moved to the kitchen. The flour bowl gone. The stove collapsed. The floor soft underfoot. She walked the hallway. Her fingers brushed the walls. The paint flaked. The air thickened. She opened the door to his room. The bed was ash. The Bible blackened. The shelves smoldered, but on the wall above the window, 3 names had been carved. Not written, not scratched, carved. Heron Micah. And another. The boy who never lived. She didn't recognize it, but she knew it. She reached out. The wood was warm, not burning, just alive. The younger boy stood in the doorway. You know what to do. She nodded once. I do. She walked outside. The fire followed. The house burned slowly, quiet, like it was always meant to. On the porch, the sheriff stood, but not the real one. Not anymore. His hat was too clean. His eyes are too sharp. His badge is too bright. You said yes, he reminded me. You gave me nothing but silence, she said. You asked for peace. You gave me ghosts. You gave them to yourself. She raised the shotgun, fired. The smoke swallowed him whole. He didn't fall. He disappeared. The boys didn't move. Was that the last of him, she asked. The older boy shook his head. No. He's in there, said the younger, nodding at the flames. She stepped back. The house groaned and then collapsed. The badge, the one she'd buried, the one that kept coming back, melted in the dirt beside the porch. No one screamed, not even the fire. Ash floated through the orchard like snow, too tired to fall fast. She turned. The boys waited. They weren't children anymore. Not exactly. What now? She asked. The older boy stepped forward. You gave us a name. I didn't. You said Micah. She nodded. He was mine. The younger one smiled. So are we. What do you want to be called? She asked. They looked at each other, then at her. You choose, the younger said. She stared at them. You'll be Micah. The older boy nodded. You, she said, looking at the younger. You'll be Eli. The name landed gently. Why? He asked. It was the one I never got to give. She held out her hands. They each took one, and they walked away from the fire. The orchard behind them, the well to their side, the names carved in her ribs now, not the walls. They walked until the house was aglow on the hill, until the road curved, until nothing but land stretched ahead. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like something was missing. She felt whole. As they walked, the wind shifted, software carrying something. Behind them, a voice. Micah, but it wasn't calling for help anymore. It was saying goodbye.